Hi there, Rick here. Um, I went into my uh, MSN Money app here, okay, this morning, and okay, gold. Okay, I'll put my mouse pointer on it. Gold finally broke $3,400 again. Okay. Um, what really surprised me here was silver. Okay. Um, Look at that jump. $1.47. Okay. Um, I didn't see it break $35 for a very long time. Just to take a guess, I think it was maybe a year ago. Okay. Um, and then okay, the change. Okay, it has a percentage here. I'll put my mouse pointer on it. It's 4.23%. Okay. From watching other YouTube videos, on the net, just a lot of economists were saying that, it's gonna, break $50. Oh, it's gonna go to triple digit silver. Um, and, a lot of the economists were saying too that, it's the most undervalued commodity, on the planet. Okay. Um, they give some really good reasons for it. Okay. One of the really good reasons is, okay, if it's coming out of the ground at a ratio of 1 to 7 or 1 to 8, okay, should it be 1/7 or 1/8 the price of gold? Okay. Talk to you about some history, about silver too. Okay. Okay, back in the Egyptian days, okay, like I'm going back like 5,000 years now, okay. Um, I heard that it was a ratio of 1 to 1, okay. So I figure, and then I think it changed to a ratio of 1 to 2, okay. Because I think way back then, okay, when they were trying to, get silver out of the ground, okay, I think they were getting it out of the ground at a ratio of either 1 to 1, okay, or 1 to 2. That's why they priced it at, you know, um, a ratio of 1 to 1 or 1 to 2, okay. Okay, but the dollar value, okay, was uh, just it didn't make sense. Okay, because even the economists were saying, even some CEOs of mining companies, right? They can't understand, um, why is the value of silver worth so low compared to the value of gold? Okay, um, so they can't explain it either, right? Okay, I'm sure that they would be really happy, okay, if they got, um, for every ounce of silver, okay, um, the true value, okay, of a ratio of, 1 to 7 or 1 to 8, okay, but silver would be in the hundreds of dollars now, right? Because, um, it would be, it would be worth so much more. Okay. And I'm sure that there would be a lot more richer people around the world too. Okay. Because I know that there's a lot of silver stackers out there, a lot of people who have, maybe, silver mine shares. Okay. Sure, it'll add more money to the economy, but wouldn't that be better than, all these, QE, all this money printing, right? Because it'll hold its value, right? They'll revalue it, okay, and it'll stay there, okay. It might fluctuate in that area, okay, of 1 to 7 or 1 to 8, okay, but it would add more money, okay, to commerce, okay. So I think that would be, very beneficial to a lot of different economies. Okay. I'm sure even too a lot of governments around the world, they're holding on to silver, silver too, right? So it just blew past it just blew past $35 quite easy. Um, and like I say, for the longest time, I didn't see it, go over $35. And this morning, I turn on my computer and, wow, just, blew right by it. Okay. Also, too, I don't see these jumps too often. Okay. Like, almost $1.50 overnight, right? Um, for the longest time now. Now I'm talking, over sometimes even a 10-year period, 10 cent, 20 cent movement, okay, 5 cent, and then it retracts. It goes back up 5 cents, goes down 10 cents, and now look at it, if there's huge jumps like this, 147, a dollar, right? It could easily go up to $50 again, okay? You have to remember, it didn't go up to $50 since the, what, 1980s. I think it was the early 1980s, okay? So, now it, well, it just seems like it's got a lot of steam, okay? Because you have to remember, okay, if it was going up 5 cents, 10 cents, you would think it would take, maybe 2-3 years just to get up to $50. Because you have to remember, too, it's going to be retracting, going back up again, going back down 10 cents, 5 cents, up 15 cents, right? But now these jumps, it's, 4.23%, up $1.50, up $1, right? It might be worthwhile, investing in silver, because you have to remember too, gold at $3,400 an ounce. Who could afford it now, right? It is so expensive that it's beyond the reach of a lot of, Canadians, right? David Morgan was talking about it. I saw one of his YouTube videos, okay? He was just saying that, when gold and silver, okay, when it really takes off, okay, there's going to be people, well, he just gave an analogy, okay? Just imagine a flock of birds, flying in a particular direction. Suddenly they turn, 90 degrees, and, it just, he was just referring to that turn as, silver, okay? People are going to, trying to buy gold, okay? But they realize a lot of people they just can't do it, okay? And then they'll look at the second alternative, silver, okay? And then he was saying that it's going to blow the top off of silver, okay? Because there's going to be a rally in silver, okay? And like all rallies, people tend to jump aboard the bandwagon, right? And, they're going to start, buying silver now. And it's just going to blow the top off of silver, okay? Because you have to remember, this is not just happening in North America. It's happening right around the entire world. They'll probably take off all the silver off of the COMEX in London, okay? Not to mention a lot of other stock exchanges. And they won't, they won't, be buying paper silver, okay? They'll be, requesting delivery on their silver, and then even, just, request and delivery on their silver. So it'll dry up a lot of, inventories of silver in vaults, okay? And the banks, who's ever suppressing it, okay? I think it's the banks, okay? I'm quite certain it's the banks. They'll realize, shit, we have to meet our margin calls. We're losing hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. We gotta stop this shorting too. And that'll blow the top off the the price of silver too. Okay, because almost what happened in GameStop. Okay, the hedge fund that was shorting it, they had to go back into the market and they had to buy the. I heard they had to buy shares of GameStop. Okay, to get out of their position. Okay, and that was driving the price up higher. Okay, they done what was called a naked short. Okay, um, done a little bit of research on it. They basically they bought almost all the shares plus more. Okay, than what there actually was. Okay, I don't know how they you know um, managed to do something like that because I didn't hear that term too often in the markets. Um, I think that was the first time I heard about it, and it happened to GameStop. Okay, um, so it went from what about Roaring Kitty bought in, I figure around $3 something. Okay, it went all the way up to $500. He bought about $60,000 worth of GameStop shares. Okay, if he sold near the top, okay, I worked out on my calculator. It worked out to about 60 to $70 million. Okay, in profit. Okay, um, yeah, quite amazing. I wish the guy lived down the street from me. I would probably been over at his house a lot, just knocking on his door, asking if I could, uh, just hang out with him and, talk to him about stocks. Find out what he was doing in the markets, right? But when he posted that $60,000 investment in GameStop, people were calling him crazy, telling him, you better sell those shares before you lose all your money. But he said no. If you this hedge fund, done a naked short on this particular stock. If you buy it, it'll go up. And sure enough, it started to go up, and more people hopped on the bandwagon. So back to the story of silver. Okay. Um, okay, you see that's $36 right now, $36.12. Okay. I make a prediction. Okay, right now it's what, June 5th. Okay, it's going to break $40 really soon. Okay, and when it does, okay, people are really going to start to take notice. Okay, because it's going to hit $50. Okay, I think it'll take a little bit longer to hit $50, but when it does, people really start to take notice because they'll start talking about, when was the last time it was 50, it hit $50? Early in the 1980s. Okay, what was that, 45 years ago? Okay. I was a teenager back then. Okay, and you know I'm sure all these other people who are a lot older, okay, in their 50s or even their 60s, right, they'll start to take notice. They'll go, wow, that hasn't happened since I was a teenager, or since I was 1 year old, or I was just born then. Okay, so it is uh quite exciting, seeing silver go this high, because if you were to ask me, is something happening in silver right now? Okay, I would say yes, just because of these gigantic movements of $1.50, a dollar, right? Sure, it can go down, right? But um, I would say that it has more up potential than down potential, just because, just look what's happening around the world right now. Two major wars, um, record inflation, um, just a lot of uncertainty in the world, right? Trump's tariffs, right? It's not helping out, the situation too. Okay. Um, so, if you haven't, got into, investing in gold and silver, I would just, um, just advise you to, you know, start investing a bit, like, I mean, I like my netizens out there to, to make some money, right? Um, U.S. government, okay, revalues gold, right? Um, before, I think it was Roosevelt that revalued it, and he rose it as high as 75%, because it went from $20 to $35. Okay, so that's a 75% movement, right? Imagine if they um well, revalued it, done 100% movement. Okay, so it's no longer, valued at what, 3,402. It's like $6,804 now, right? Or if they revalue silver, okay, and that's not entirely impossible. Okay, the U.S. government, the president has done it before, so why not do it again, right? Just because, too, look at their debt, right? I think what, a $37 trillion debt. They're paying something like, $1 trillion in interest every 100 days, right? If they revalue it, it'll also help out the U.S. government a lot, because now it'll help the U.S. government pay off some of its debt, because you know the U.S. government does have a lot of gold, okay, and if they revalue it, okay, then now they can pay off a lot of their debt.